Hello, good evening. Welcome back to the Tuesday show. On tonight's program, we are open to looking at anything that is going on in East London or anything that's going on that will affect East London. Particularly, it's a happy week as we celebrate the first big restrictions being lifted in the lockdown. But we are also going to focus on youth and services for young people. Why are they important in an East London borough like Tower Hamlets? And what do young people think about the forthcoming referendum on whether to have a mayor, to continue with a directly elected mayor, or to move to a leader plus cabinet system, which all sounds very dry. Do the youth care? Are they going to ring in and tell us? So first of all, I'm going to introduce my guests, and then I'll give you the number for ringing into the studio. We have two guests today. First of all, I would like to welcome Refeia B Ali, who is a very experienced youth worker and still limps on trying to find places where youth work is being done and helping out. And also Kabir Hussain. I'm sorry, but for some reason we called you Kabir Ahmed for a while on some of our publicity, Kabir, but you know who you are. So Kabir Hussain we have with us, who is a young person. So you have a unique contribution to make. So, and as I said, we welcome your questions. Do ring in. Our number for you to call is the same as usual, 0208 12345 07. So give us a call, put some questions to our two guests, or just tell us what you think. And you can also, if you're watching us on Facebook, comment on the video. I will keep an eye on the comments box. So excuse me if I'm occasionally looking. Oh, we have a caller already. Before our guests have even said hello, let's go straight to our caller. Hello, caller. What's your name?
Hello, my name is Mr. Ghazi.
Hello, Mr. Ghazi. What have you got to say? Set the tone for us.
Yes, I just like to say thanks to Kabir. He's a very nice person.
Oh, good. We only have nice people
and your
on the show.
other guests as well.
Cheers, thank you.
Give them a thanks.
So, what do you think about the youth service then? Do you think?
I think that the mayor system is going to be good. Mayor is going to be a good idea for the youth.
And why do you think that? Why do you think the mayor is a good idea for youth in the borough?
Because the mayor will look after everyone. You know, look after all the community and all this. You know, we're going to get more support. Like we had the support before when Mr. Rahman was on the mayor system. Mr. Mayor, he was a mayor, and that time it was better. We had a better service from him. You see.
Ah, well, maybe you're saying it's not the system. It's not whether we have a mayor. It's who the mayor is. So thank you for phoning in and being our first caller. You'll set the stage. So let's put that question to our two studio guests. Thank you for calling.
Okay.
Kabir, as somebody who's accused you of being a nice person and also said to you that the mayor is a good structure for the youth to have. What do you think?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me, and thank you to your listeners. Thank you, Ghazi Bhai. I know him personally. He's the eldest person and a community activist as well. And thank you for nice comments for both of us. I think Jenny deserved comments. Thank you, Jenny. I believe the youth in Tower Hamlets, especially like me as a young person, I have been living in Tower Hamlets since 2010. And why I involved in politics in 2010? Because I have seen the lots of young people there on the street, and that's why I choose to do some youth work for the young people. And I've seen lots of people on the street. They're doing some other works, and I believe
Are you sat on the lead, Kabir? I think your sound suddenly gone off. You were just getting into your stride.
Can you hear me now?
Refeia, can you hear Kabir?
Yes, I can hear too. Yeah, I can. Yeah. Can you hear me?
It's just me then.
Can you hear me, Jenny?
Yes, I can hear you lovely now. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it might have been a fault at my end, but
So,
yeah. So,
In principle, if you believe in democracy, I think the mayoral system should be kept in Tower Hamlets.
okay, so you've set out your stall there. That's what the youth representative is saying. Refeia, you've worked with a lot of youth in the borough. How do you feel? Do you agree with our caller? The mayoral system is the best system?
Of course, I mean, they've brought in so much. Having the youth service in-house, it provides a coordinated curriculum, and during that time, I think youth service overall was thriving. I mean, I was in the midst of all of it. There was opportunities for young people to apply for funding. Youth services were open left, right and centre. I mean, personally, Lutful Rahman kind of invested a lot more within the youth service. He's brought in so much, and he's invested not only for the council-owned youth services, he's also like helped other organisations, whether it was grassroots or whether it was a volunteer sector. So during that time, it was like kind of everyone was focused at one goal, which is like to make sure our young people are getting the best out of what is delivered, the services in the borough.
You're speaking there of the first directly elected mayor, Lutful Rahman, but of course we've had a second mayor for the last 5 years. So perhaps you're in a position to compare the two. You spoke very well of the first 5 years of the mayoralty, investing in youth service. Has that carried on? Is it still as good in Tower Hamlets?
No, of course not. Out of the 26 council-owned youth service or youth centres, 18 of them closed. Now, knowing that there's a rife in knife crime and postcode tension, how are you then helping the young people? Because without even finding a solution, you're just like adding to it. Because young person won't cross boundaries to another youth centre. So what you're doing is you're forcing those young people onto the streets. There was about 800 plus people who voted online against, petitioned against like the closure of youth services. They did say this is gonna have an adverse effect, but their voices weren't really heard. And you know, all of this was at the back of the old administration. It gets tiring hearing about, oh, what the old administration done. We had to bring in A, B, and C just to come in and clean up the system and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, are you listening to the young people? Though I was at the middle of working with young people. One of my young person got stabbed to 2016. In Brick Lane. So these are things that are happening. Closing youth centres doesn't eliminate the issue. It actually adds to it. So
I think at the moment probably the current administration would say that some of the youth centres they closed had very small attendance, and what they were doing was closing them to give enhanced facilities in set locations in the borough. I think they have 8 hubs, and they were going to deliver the service from them. And I think in fact they then had to add three satellites.
I think, Jenny, just to go with Refeia, John Biggs, the present mayor of Tower Hamlets, he's throwing young people on the street. Right now, if you see the around, you can't believe this. So Refeia said already 18 youth centers already shut down, so out of 26. What the other 8's doing? Nothing. They put hubs in different areas. Say example, I live in Limehouse. I cannot go to Isle of Dogs. So in generation, we have to place somewhere the people of young generation they can access straight away.
Yes, I mean that's. I think that's a big question. Well, if you're part of the current administration, then ring in. Hang on a minute, Kabir. If you're part of the current administration, ring in. If you think the hubs are working well, give us a call. Or if you're a young person going to the youth service, or if you're an old person with a young person in your family who's trying to access the service, give us a call. 0208 12345 07. I'd love to hear from you and get some more callers. Kabir, maybe while we're waiting, you can just sort of say, as a young person, how do you feel? What does the youth service do? Is it just an add-on as a service? Is it just a luxury, or does it have a role to play?
Let me tell you this, Jenny. It is not a safe option to rise a crime. and it's not realistic for our community. If you see the overcrowding into our hamlets, more than 25,000 people in waiting list. Some young people, they go to school. They come out from the school. After school, where they will go? They will go to the street, and who will take the liability? Where they're going, what they're doing. It's not all about just parents will look after the children. So this is our responsibility. The community people, the mayor, who got the executive power, the councillors, they got some responsibilities. They are not doing it.
So do you agree with that, Refeia? Is that well stated, or what other benefits do young people get from having a youth service? Is it just plain table tennis?
No, it's not about table. At the end of the day, look, you've got your generic youth activities, table tennis and so forth. But at the end of the day, with the overcrowded, what parents are going to allow like 10, more than one or two friends coming round and like already in a very small like overcrowded accommodation, parents don't really allow their kids to bring in friends from outside. So this is why youth centres is supposed to be there, just to make it's a safe haven for young people. Also a place where young people could be themselves. It keeps them off the streets, but it also allows them to be part of or have that sense of belonging. Because majority of the young people, they can't like fall off the wagon a lot of the times, and schools don't really cater for individual needs. Schools are there just to like kind of cover the curriculum side of things, but youth workers really do work with the young people on a one-to-one level. They kind of invest a lot of time into getting to know the young people, and there's a lot of like local youth workers who've been born and brought up, and they've like spent their lifetime, majority of them, like giving back to the community, volunteering and putting as much effort as possible. I mean, youth service have been like in-house, bought in-house, they've been outsourced, they've been commissioned. And I remember the time when Youth Action UK was brought in, and they're an organisation from Kent. What do they know about urban youth work? Nothing. It all went belly up, and then it was brought back in. All these staff members were too keyed over. It just has been going back and forth. And what that does is it makes young people unsettled. It unsettles the young people more than anything, because they get to know their youth workers, and then like youth workers are moving on. They're being passed around to one hub to another, one lot to another. Now it's come to like 8 hubs, and now it's broken up, and it's just it's been tendered, it's been commissioned out again. So
is it?
Young people don't know where they're coming or going, who their youth workers is. They need to have a youth worker who they've actually stuck with for 5 years in order for that young person to come back time and time again. Even if after they're 19, when that's where the stop, cut-off point is. So many of them still come back to see their young, youth workers because of that relationship.
Yeah.
And we need to keep that. We need to keep that. We need to, because these are valuable stuff. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing for the 18 plus, and these are the young people who end up becoming young parents, and they fall through the gaps. Who's helping them? A lot of young people don't have the career guidance. They need that. Schools will just send you to A, B, and C, but actually, do they really sit down? Because a lot of young people, they kind of choose what they're going to do, but a couple of years into it, they change their minds. They need career guidance. They need a lot of guidance.
You're putting salt in my wounds there, as that was one of my hobby horses. Guidance on careers, and particularly guidance on further education, higher education. That was my main interest for a lot of the 90s. But Kabir, do you think that Refeia is right? What's it like on the streets? If the youth can't have a place to go, what actually happens on the streets?
Why?
Oh, hold on. Leave that question there. We've got a caller. Hello, caller. What's your name?
Hi, good evening. I'm calling from Dockland. I'm just want to speak regarding the big. I go like a son, like 18, 19 years old, and there used to be a few youth club in Dockland, but they have shut down every single youth club. They got nowhere to go. I mean, really helpful if can someone like get back the youth club so you can go in and play in evening time. And
I don't know of any youth clubs functioning in E14. On the Isle of Dogs.
Yeah, not now. I mean, obviously it's COVID closed down, but they used to be before the COVID. They shut down all three of them. So it'd be helpful if they can bring them back again.
How do you feel that the youth are taking to that lack of provision, caller? Are they just sitting at home waiting for lockdown to end, or how are the young people taking to the situation?
Yeah, I mean, my son's like I mean, it's my son, but his friends are like they've been just sitting at home playing computer, and there's nowhere to go once the lockdown's open. But then there is no clubs to go and spend time. So they two, three youth club, but they shut down all 2, 3 of them.
Yeah. Well, hopefully some of them will come back.
You to get back into again.
Well, maybe you can send your son round to the Utilise project in Pepper Street, because they're always interested in feedback and laying things on within the regulations. And I saw in Millwall Park today, cricket is back on, so that really felt like summer, seeing people playing cricket and just hearing that sound of the ball hitting the bat. I thought, summer's here. Caller, thank you very much. Let's carry on. I asked you a question. Thank you for calling. Kabir, I asked you a question. I can't remember what it was. What do people actually do on the streets? Do they just hang around and get cold, or what?
Yes, just to echo with Refeia, what she said. Why youth clubs are important in Tower Hamlets. So it provides a platform to be a good citizen. It provides a platform to exercise where they can do extracurricular activity and make a huge contribution to the communities, the positive contribution to the communities. So if you look around in Tower Hamlets, the knife crimes has been raised, the drugs and the antisocial behavior. So all over the Tower Hamlets. What is this for? We cannot put our young people, we cannot put our future on the street.
If you're shy listeners about ringing in with your question, you can put your question on our comments box on our Facebook page. But I did want to come back to schools as well. Schools, I mean, used to be delivered in Tower Hamlets by ILEA, the Inner London Educational Authority, that's before your time, Kabir, which used to operate the youth service as well, and then everything came over just being run by Tower Hamlets. How do you feel the relationships are with schools now, Refeia? Have they been better? I remember them being very good back in the day.
I mean, the schools did have, the council did have the junior youth service.
Hold on a moment.
I don't know if you're aware of it.
No, I'll have to wait because we have another caller. Hello, caller. What's your name?
Hi there. My name is Mafiz.
Mafiz?
Yeah, I'm calling from Docklands.
Oh, welcome to the show. You're not calling from Docklands. There is no such place as Docklands. It's a pretend place. You may be calling from the Isle of Dogs, but let's not have this. Let's not have this posh Docklands stuff. Isle of Dogs. Okay, Mafiz.
I just want to say that the frontline service, this administration has been really affected by this administration, the frontline service, the most vital service. They cut lots of jobs, and it's really affecting our residents, our community.
Are you of an age where you're going to youth clubs yourself, Mafiz?
Yeah. There are hardly any provisions now. Youth club, day centers, even the local libraries. The frontline service job was reduced, and it's affecting the communities, and it will affect after the post COVID-19 pandemic. So these are really worrying times for all of us.
Have you seen more youth hanging around on the streets?
Yeah. Just for example, today different examples, but already the crime rate is going up, the knife crimes and other things. I mean, what are the provision for off the street campaign? Hardly any. And summer youth programs. Where is the money? Where is the youth provisions?
Goodness,
So,
we've got the summer.
really
Yes, we've got the summer to come. Well, thank you very much for your call, my fish. We welcome your.
Thank you.
We appreciate your
Bye.
comments. I must say, somebody in terms of E14, somebody was kicking off on the Samuda last night. It was very noisy, and something too exciting for me was going on. I didn't go out and look. So, Refeia, I interrupted you for that caller. We were thinking about schools and what they offer young people, and after-school clubs, after-school activities.
Play centres started off with parents running it voluntarily, like in schools, but then it became something that it was mostly for working parents, because obviously after school they needed their kids like to stay on a bit, but then it became quite popular. So I remember that time I used to work for the junior youth service for the council. But it was just a follow-on from 9 to 3. It was just a follow-on. It just continued. It wasn't. I mean, although it offered support for working parents, but I think what young people need is a different setting, because they're still in that mentality, classroom mentality, and they don't get that different setting. So that's the difference when it comes to schools delivering it. I know a lot of primary schools have brought it in-house, because junior youth service, I think they closed, you're talking 2006 or 2008, sometimes during that time.
Really?
I think junior youth service, all the schools took it in-house. So that's what, as far as I'm aware of. I think just before Lutful Rahman came in, because I remember I've shifted jobs after that. I changed jobs. So I went on to work for The Inspired 2010. So I've kind of left the junior youth service. They call it junior youth service. It's basically just working with the younger lots. But schools really need to tap. What we're missing out on is youth centres working alongside primary schools, and or local secondary schools. If each secondary schools kind of worked in partnership, we could have had so many young people utilising youth centres. Schools ain't encouraging their young people, because it's so difficult to tap into schools. They don't really kind of engage with you. If you want to discuss a project with them, they always send you emails for info and admin. It doesn't get to the person that you want to reach to. And it just gets forgotten about, and you can't really go outside their front gate because that's not allowed. So the only schools that I found that are thriving in that sense is a couple of schools who are open to ideas. But it's not all schools. Not all schools are doing that. Some of the schools say they're delivering their own youth service or own after school, but are they really? Because majority of the time, young people are still hanging around outside.
I think it's really interesting the way you're talking about the younger end, and I think it's really interesting when you think about the COVID times and think about everything that people are saying about COVID. Young people are stuck indoors, they're not going to be able to develop, they're not going to be able to socialise. Why weren't they saying that 2 years ago? No youth service, young people are stuck indoors, they're not going to be able to develop. In some ways, although COVID is very bad, it's just brought out things we used to have to put up with, things we were complaining about, but nobody was listening to. So, I mean, I find that very interesting. Nowadays, of course, every child has got to have a computer in their house so they can do their homework online because they can't go to school. But what about that inequality between children who did have a computer in the house and children who didn't? Was that not feeding into school performance and generally what people did on the street? Oh, sorry, I'm getting on my soapbox. No, I shouldn't at all. Let me throw a question at Kabir. Kabir, the youth service, when you think about it, I think of teenagers, young teenagers. Is it just a service for boys?
Okay, so I'm going to share one story. Spoke to
Yeah.
one of resident in Tower Hamlets. She lives in Tower Hamlets, and she, I think, spoke to me last week. She was saying, okay, I could see my son go down to depression because of lockdown, and also because of there is no extracurriculum activity in place. There is no youth centers where they can go. At least they should some access out of school where they can meet up, they can greet, and they can share their thoughts. As Rafia said, some project, they can do some project as well. But there is none of them. There is nothing in place where they can go.
Okay, so we've got to write deficits. If you want to join our list of callers, here's the number again, 0208 12345 07. Give us a ring, put a question to our guests, or tell us what youth service is like round where you are. How has COVID interrupted the system? Have the youth services still been able to do any work during the lockdowns? Refeia, what do you think? Has that worked?
I mean, I'm freelance, youth and community officer, so I've continued my work with young people, whether that was an hour a week, offering mental health sessions to young women, and that was a significant part I played in terms of how much COVID's coming at such a time when youth service already up in the air, and then COVID hit. At the end of the day, young people are constantly on their devices anyway. But what I found was, this whole year when schools were shut and they had to do online schooling and stuff, and so many young people saying they just want to throw their phone away. They're just so sick and tired of it because they're missing out on the human interaction. And that is what's really, really important. And we need to make sure that these young people, when everything goes back to normality, although some of the young people are back in school, that transition into normality, we need to have it ready for youth services out there, whatever the projects there are. There were so many good projects actually running, like street games and Wapping. There was so many youth services and youth projects that were running during COVID, but it wasn't council owned. These are grassroots organisations who actually constantly deliver good work. I mean, council did help here and there, but as far as I know, they're only around when there's a snapshot of pictures available for them to just add on their social media, just like a quick picture.
Oh dear, that's
sad. So
Refeia, I'm going to stop you again for a second. We have another caller who's joining us. Hello, caller. What's your name?
Hello, my name is Mohammed Kamrun.
Hello, Mohammed. What's your question for us, or what's your comment?
Hello, good evening for everyone. So basically, I don't have any question, and I'm totally agree with Mr. Kabir. Basically, the mayoral leadership system is not good for the community because they are rely on the councillors. They're not directly elected. If you directly elect your mayor, he is more accountable to the voter. And we've seen last 10 years, I think it's a very great achievement for the executive mayor. Otherwise, they always depend on the councillor because only the councillor vote for them. So they are accountable to 9-10 councillors. And we want a elected mayor from the London Borough of Tower Hamlets. And
do you think the young people will actually come out and vote in the referendum, or will they say it's a load of old tosh that the old people have got to sort out?
I think they should do come out and vote for the mayor system because this is for their future, this is for their rights and their all the necessity. I don't think a leader can, these days of the world, a leader can, because London has a mayor, Manchester has a mayor, every city has a mayor, we should have a mayor, and that's what is the best way to go forward. That's my opinion.
That's lovely. Thank you very much for phoning in and sharing that opinion. Let's put that opinion to our guests as well. Kabir, do you think that? So thank you for ringing, caller.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you think the young people will actually be motivated to come out and vote?
Yes, they should, because this is the democratic right for them. I think caller left. Thank you for your call. I think they should come out and vote for mayoral system. Otherwise, they are gone. Because if you look at the some of the achievements, we are not talking about the only mayoral system. We can see the last administration, whatever they have done under Lutfur Rahman policies. Look at the university bursary, university grant. They used to receive £1,500 every year, and also there are some extra money. I think every year they had to put £10 million for the youth services. Nevertheless, President Mayor, he cuts everything. He cuts frontline services. He shut down the libraries, one-stop shop, and many more. So, namely, so much he has done. We can't compare with the previous administration and present administration. So,
I'm sure the current administration would probably say they actually provide better services because they are in fewer locations. But I know we've all
understand, Jenny, where the money gone. They put in a pay rise for them. I think all councillors, they got pay rise, mayors got pay rise, and they cut from youth services. They're putting in their pockets. So what is this for?
Well, let me stick to the democracy point. I mean, obviously, I'm, absolutely politics every day. You know, I'm really interested in how our lives are run, how our lives are controlled, having a say in what people do to us. Refeia, do you feel that the youth service encouraged young people to get interested in the democratic process, in the political process, or was that something that youth service shied away from?
No, I mean, I don't know if you've heard of the young mayor. Have you heard of the young mayor?
Tell us more about it. Yeah.
So it gives a young person a role, a leadership role to play in, and to kind of like convey a message to all their all the young people, all their peers, change the way services are run, organise events. And it was going successful. It was quite. I don't know what's happened to it. I don't know if they're still doing it. I've not heard of it for the last couple of years. But I knew it kind of like giving a platform to young people to kind of like be part of what's going on the ground. We need to invest in our young people. We need to make sure they are taking on roles such as leadership roles, because especially
fantastic.
now more than anything.
Yeah, hold it there. We have another caller. Hello, caller. What's your name?
My name is Raj. How are you doing? Okay.
Raj, we're all fine. I hope you are too. What would you like to ask or say?
I live in Isle of Dogs, but basically I have two children. One is 17 and one is 14, and they don't have nowhere to go. They don't know like anything, the clubs or anything. Everything's like clothing, Mr. John Big. So I don't know why.
I mean, those are very difficult ages, 14 and 17. How are they actually coping with being locked up at home? How are they actually coping with being locked up at home, Raj?
Yeah, just in the computer and laptop, just doing nothing else, nothing much actually.
Do you think they will recover quickly when lockdown ends, or has this done them some permanent damage?
Yeah. Anyway, thank you then. Bye-bye.
Raj, thank you for phoning. Okay, that's another thing we've got to look out for, seeing how youth are. If youth will snap back, I think that's a very important question. What is the youth service going to do in Tower Hamlets, in East London boroughs generally, to help young people to transition. Sometimes it can be very confusing when you're young, can't it? Because you're transitioning anyway, but you're not sure quite where you're going and you're testing it out. So this is going to be more of a challenge. I was just, I do actually have the East London headlines in front of me, and I was just looking there, I thought I saw something. Barking and Dagenham, their news page has got something from their young mayor. Their young mayor is going to continue fundraising, as a bit of a tradition in Barking and Dagenham, for domestic violence charities while they're being the young mayor. And yeah, that's important enough to make the Barking and Dagenham main news page. So there's not so much in Tower Hamlets. I'm sure there is to the young mayor, but they may perhaps not be getting quite so much of the news coverage as they do in other boroughs sometimes.
I wouldn't be surprised then if that role has been stripped as well. I mean, there's been so many changes. You don't know what's going on in the borough anymore. I mean, most of the council-owned youth centres were shut throughout the whole pandemic. So it was only the grassroots organisation running minimal services. So there you go. I mean, you have to have the passion and the drive to make sure that youth service thrives. And I don't think John Biggs has done that. I mean, he's come in and he's closed half the centres, half the youth centres. That didn't really help. So you can tell from his mentality and the way he came in and done what he's done, that it's not about the young people. It's more about closing the roads and doing other nonsense. I mean, it's just, I mean, it is, moral system or leadership model, it is about the individual. And, people might say so many things about Lutful Rahman, but at the end of the day, he delivered and he was out and about meeting young people. He was opening up centres like Osmani Centre. He's put in a lot more. There was grassroots organisations thriving. They could deliver from, the small organisations were able to deliver, have like events, summer events and so forth. It brings communities together. Nowadays, you don't see none of that. I mean, it's just the numbers of young people attending youth centres have dropped significantly to a point that, it comes, I don't know if that was the plan to begin with, to like shut down services and it has a ricochet effect.
Are you just talking about COVID? COVID has obviously knocked attendance.
Way before COVID, the numbers were dropped. So now, obviously, with COVID, it's going to be really difficult to get everything everything to get back to normality. It will take time because our young people, not just young people, everyone has suffered so much so that it's going to, everyone's mental health has had diverse effect. COVID's had a knock-on effect on so many people financially. So many people are still, they've lost loved ones. So it's going to take time for us to get back to normality. But this is a time we need to think about our young people. This ain't the time to just step back and think, you know what, everything's going to, invest in roads, closing roads and other stuff, because none of that matters. What matters now is making sure our young people are healthy, their mindset's healthy, because if we kind of lose them now, it's going to be so difficult to get them back. Crime rates, as we know, every single every single time you're on Facebook or social media, someone's got stabbed. Incident happened not so long ago in Stepney Way. Someone got stabbed. Some boy got stabbed in Leytonstone over a jacket. I mean, it's happening. We can't ignore it.
And they're getting younger. I mean, I was astonished. I was writing up a crime report for East London News this week, and the teenager charged with stabbing a 15-year-old was 12.
Yeah.
And I don't often write that. 12-year-old charged with attempted murder. I don't often write that, and I don't like writing that. And you think, how has this child escaped the people and the services that should have been looking after him? I mean, it was a male child. So it's I mean, the other question I'd like to look at, and maybe Kabir, if you can come in. I know, Kabir, you're gainfully employed. I can see all the books behind you. But I was just wondering, I don't know if you want to reply to anything Refeia said, but I'm also quite interested in unemployment is another high statistic and unwelcome. How are young people feeling their chances of getting work are? Because I know if you can't see any chance of getting employment, that's really can put you on a downward spiral. So how are young people feeling about the employment situation? Kabir?
Yeah, that's true. This is the another reason, because once you meet somebody, once you get access to somewhere, you can share your thoughts. I strongly believe we should get access to youth centers. If you see the last administration record under Lutfur Rahman, he put some apprentice, in place.
Oh yeah.
So that's the way we can reduce some, unemployment, especially for the young people who can do the part-time job, or they can get some experience from anywhere. This is one of the initiative he has done. And
hold that thought. We have another caller. Hello, caller. What's your name?
Hello.
Hi. What's your name?
My name is Rahman. I'm calling from East London.
Hello, Rahman. How can we help you? What would you like to say?
Yeah, no problem. I just want to make a comment on this discussion. It's a really nice discussion, especially regarding termless youth. And my point of view is Mayor Biggs is responsible to destroy the total youth community of termless, especially ethnic minorities who ever live in termless, because he cut large number of youth centers last couple of days, and on top of it, he just cherry pick. Whenever he thinks mayoral system is suitable for him, he chooses it, and whenever he thinks it's not suit for him, he want to change it. So I believe that he is a hypocrite, and I completely agree with Mr. Kabir Hussein's point of view. And thank you, everyone, for this nice program.
Well, thank you for joining.
That termless people will give a response for this upcoming election.
Well, thank you very much for joining us and for putting that view.
And I really appreciate Mr. Kabir Hussain for his contribution and obviously his point of view today. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks for calling. Well, my guests are the experts, so that's why they're here, to add to and amplify my much more narrow knowledge. Kabir, we cut you off in mid-flow there. We were looking at the question of employment and apprentices and so on.
Yes, that was the one of the initiative under Lutfur Rahman. So that's the way you can reduce some unemployment. So some people, they can go for the apprentice and they can do some part-time work and they can get some experience from somewhere. So I strongly believe we should have the minimum of youth centers in Thai hamlets. I know, as I said, where the money gone? So they put in pay rise and they're taking. I don't know. I haven't got any clue where the money gone. The problem is, I think I still remember in 2016, some of the teenagers, they protest in the council not to close the youth centers. Maybe you remember as well.
Yeah.
So they can feel their pain. So I felt it in last 3-4 years. I can see that people, especially young people, youths are there on the street and they're doing drugs and antisocial behavior, and especially they're our future. If you believe they're our future, you have to invest in. Look at the statistic in 2010 to 2015. We were the best urban school in the world. So we have to invest somewhere where we can get the result from there. So if we believe the young people, especially youths, are our future, we have to invest in from somewhere else. We cannot cut money for the youth provisions.
Yes, well, of course, the money that has been spent on the pay rise for councillors is probably not quite enough to restore the cuts in the youth service.
Councillor I'm not going to against anybody, but they are not doing anything at all. They are not doing anything at all. I spoke to one of the residents, and one of the councillor, I personally gave his number to someone else to make a members inquiry for the housing, overcrowding house. So she lives in one 2-bedroom house of maybe 5-6 children, and the family. They are really in bad condition. I gave a number of one of the councillor I know, and he refused it, not to raise a members inquiry. He said, no, I'm not going to do it. You can go somewhere else. I'm not going to do it. So what is this for? Why the money, raised for the councillors, raised for the councillor, wages, whatever, salary, wages, whatever you can say. So they are not doing anything. Now they want to change the system, and they will make a chaos in the council. So I can say they are pocket councillors. So 15 and 20 councillors. I've seen, Jenny. I've seen they can make a chaos, and they can greet and treat among them, not for us, not for residents. So I've seen.
We're coming towards the end of our. Beginning to come towards the end of our time, and I know it does pass very quickly. But obviously, if there are any councillors listening who'd like to call in and talk about the service they offer, and if they've visited their youth hub and if it's working well, then obviously we'd love to hear from them. 0208 1234507 to reach into the studio, as a lot of people have done this evening. We do appreciate all your calls. Let me now throw a question at Refeia while we're just waiting to see if anyone else rings in. I don't know, you may not be able to answer this, you may not want to answer this, but you've been a youth worker for a reasonable time in the borough. What is the drug situation like, the illegal drug situation? Are things very bad at the moment? Are they, because of COVID, knocking along? What's the situation out there?
Look, drugs been around for years, but what I've noticed from working with my young people, they're not kind of like experimenting on hardcore drugs. It's legal highs and like cannabis and Cali, they call it. It's just street names. I think I've been hanging around with them for too long, so I've just adopted their slang. But yeah, it's majority of the time it is. They call it cunch, which means country line. So it's like most of the time they're doing that. They're into dealings. It's quite obvious. But this is because of the living, the prices are hyped up, and it kind of like, I remember 20 years ago, if someone was to, per household, one full-time worker could have just managed the whole, upkeep of the house and so forth. Now it's like two full-time, two household full-time workers. It doesn't even cut the mustard now. It's just, and this is what's happening now. The living cost is really high. Young people are forced into having to have the latest trends and have the latest gadgets and so forth, and having to see parents struggle, it has an effect on young people. Because working with young people, I mean, there's been a massive, from 20 years ago, from today, from observation, what I see is there's a lot of lone parents. There's a lot of single family a lot of young people, even from our Bangladeshi backgrounds. There's a lot of them come from lone parents. So it's just like mum's like out of work. So it becomes, the young person becomes the main kind of like family lead in the house. So all the pressure falls on the young person. So it's just, this is how it is now. Not always, but this is how it is. From generally speaking, when I'm working with young people, a handful of them came from single family backgrounds. So they were struggling. Now that I don't work with them no more, they're about 21 years old now. It's just, none of them are in full-time jobs. Most of the times they're running around in cars, and you can just know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
this
that
is
was.
it. You can't help them because they're not, there's a cut-off time. When they're 19, there's nothing available for them. I mean, this was changed by connections. When connection came in, they changed it to 13 to 19, whereas before, years ago, it was 16 to 25. I mean, now you can
Which is
work with a
something
young
that perhaps,
person.
perhaps we need that age group in Tower Hamlets or in East London, because I know that we had, at the same time as we used to have that youth service going on longer, we had one of the highest rates of children taking an extra year to get their GCSEs. So they're actually leaving school quite often a year later, a year older than their compatriots across East London. I used to work across the whole of East London, and it was it was awful. You could start off in Tower Hamlets and talk about the conditions there, and I would ask. It was all about going to university. And I asked questions like, who here's got their own bedroom? Blah, blah, blah. And then you move out to Newham, Barking Dagenham, Redbridge, Havering. I even went out into Essex occasionally, that corridor. And the further you got out east, the more children had their own bedroom, children went on holidays, children had their own computers. And it was a real illustration for me. But if we rely on young people have got energy. We want them to get involved in the political process. How do you think they can organise to fight back? Kabir, what do you think young people should actually get engaged in? Can they get engaged in the political process and defend their services? Do we need them to do that?
Yes, I strongly believe. If you see Mr. John Biggs, Mr. Mayor, he's been in power since 2015, and he cuts more than 4.2 billion pound. I think. Sorry, 4.2 million pound. So if I'm wrong, correct me, please. 4.2 million pound he cuts for the youth services. And this is a worried about us. This is a worried, and it's a red signal for the young people. I strongly believe he should, bring back all the youth centers.
It's an investment that we need to have. So, can the young people organise? What should the young people do to try and?
I think if you see some of the young teenagers, they made a farewell ceremony when the closures of the youth centers, Mr. Biggs done, and this is a shame for us. I think young people, they should organize and they should protect, and they should protect their rights. Nevertheless, if we believe in democracy, they should stand for the right and vote for the mayoral system on 6th of May. It's a time to wake up. I believe it's a time to wake up, and it's time for listen from us, and it's a time to wake up and shape your future in Tower Hamlets. I believe the people of Tower Hamlets will speak again and vote for the keep the mayoral system on 6th of May.
And Refeia, what do you think about that? Have our young people got it in them to get involved in the political process and to fight for their futures?
Well, why not? I mean, I just previously I've mentioned when you asked, a lot of my young people, they kind of went out the petitioning, done door to door outreach work just to get convey the message that the mayoral system is the right way to go about doing things, and that was just before Lutful Rahman and other candidates stood up for mayoral role. But that goes to show how much they actually believe in their democratic rights. Do you get it? Because they know they will be able to vote in their mayor. Whereas the leadership system, no one knows what's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be a closed door politics, and we only find out about it when stuff happens. Because, I mean, to be honest, real thing is it's the person itself. Do you get it? I mean, you could draw a line between like Lutful Rahman and John Biggs, because Lutful Rahman didn't come in and give himself a quick pay rise, whereas John Biggs did. I mean, if councillors can also just reject the pay rise, only 2 out of all the councillors said, no, I don't want a pay rise. But what happened to the rest of them? I mean, especially during this time when everybody else is suffering, council tax has gone sky high, and you want to give yourself a pay rise, and then come back and say, oh, you know, government's cutting money, blah blah. How does that even make sense? I mean, what thought process goes behind John Biggs to say, I've given myself a pay rise, but then again, you know what, government cut a lot of budget for us, and we need to find X, Y, and Z money to like cover the cost. Are you kidding me? Like, you know, it's down to the person itself. Have a heart. Young people are our future. But I mean, I'm 43. I don't even know how long I've got, but I know if we provide a path for our young people, this is all what it's about. I'm a mother of two, you know, myself. I've got like, they're grown up now. They're 23 and 19. I know how you know, you can't do youth work with your own kids, but I know what it was like with my young, you know, my eldest. He struggled a lot. He didn't know, you know, which path to take. He's 23. I know, you know, by working with my young people, I see it all the time. We need to be able to make sure the services are out there, you know, just focused on young people only. Do you get it? Okay. I mean, there's no ifs and buts about it.
That's lovely. Okay, we're just coming up to our hour, so I think we are going to leave the conversation there. I think it's been a fascinating overview, not quite the shapes the way I thought it might go, but it has still, with the thanks to our callers, been an overview of a lot of the issues facing the youth service at the moment. And I think the message that we have to give young people is it's been a horrible year, but now is the time to get active and to help shape the future of all of us. So I'd like to thank both my guests, Kabir Hussain and Refeia B Ali as well. Thank you both very much. I hope we'll see you again in the future. And the programme is always open to people who are of a different view. We're not here to press one side or the other, but those two guests had some very clear views, as did a number of our callers. So thank you very much for all of them. We're going to step a little bit outside our comfort zone next week, when we're going to continue the mayoral discussion, but actually we're going across to Newham, and we're going to hear from some activists there who are fighting around the mayor question from a bit of a different angle, and we're going to hear from them. So if you live in Newham, take a note of our phone number, and hopefully we'll see you next week. And if you don't live in Newham, even more reason to watch and get a bit of a break, get a bit of a different look at the mayoral system. So thank you for joining us this evening. We'll see you again next Tuesday. Good night.